Hello everybody. In this video we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the archer build. We're going to be going over all the different aspects from your weapon choice, armor, stats, amulets, rings, and more so you could jump into Lords of the Fallen and start sniping out headshots with a fun and powerful archer playstyle. Let's get into it. So starting off, let's talk about some of the interchangeable parts that you have the choice of branching off of. Starting right off with our weight. Now, I personally enjoy staying below that medium encumbrance range. This game is very forgiving when we're dodging anyways, so I like to really lean into that high risk, high reward playstyle when possible. And being an archer, where most of our encounters are going to be at range anyways, this is going to fit this build very well. Now, depending on the choice that you make with your armor will determine the choice of rings and amulets, which we're going to cover here in a bit. But more importantly, you're going to be increasing your ammo capacity by either adding points to vitality or endurance. And this works out very well for us because in the start of the game, we're going to want to prioritize health until we start feeling comfortable. Speaking of a fresh start to the game, we're going to start off with a bit of a lackluster amount of ammo, so you're really going to want to stock yourself up with ammunition packs to keep yourself topped off. You're going to be able to buy these at the hub, so don't be afraid to use them more often than not, but really be ready to just pick up a handful of these as soon as you start off. Now, I'd also recommend starting off with the Black Feather Archer class since he starts right off the bat with a bow and arrow on deck, so it's going to be the obvious choice. But just to let you know, my base class I started with was the Assassin, so the end stats might differ a little bit, but we'll bring that up when we get to the stats category, and I just wanted to let you know where I stand on that. So starting off with the weapons I ended up using for this build, right up front, I would have loved to use daggers, especially to really force us to depend more on that bow, but my understanding is that there's really not one single benefit in doing so. From the speed to the move set and everything that comes with daggers are just the exact same as the short swords, with just the additional downside of losing some length from daggers as weapons. So I can't recommend a pair of daggers even though I would love to, but with that being said, if you have two of the Kukujin short swords, you're gonna be in heaven. I would go with that dual wheel set because both weapons will allow you to use the Alstrix rune. Please bear with me if I'm saying that wrong, but it's going to be extremely powerful for this build, especially later on, and it's going to dramatically up your damage for all your ranged attacks. Definitely don't sleep on this rune. But if you don't have a copy of that, the main hand that we're going to be using is a +10 Bloodlust. This is providing us with a 357 attack power rating, an A- in agility, and inferno scaling. It's also bringing a 60 in bleed and fire buildup, and the runes that we attach to this weapon is number 1, to gain health upon killing enemies. The second is to increase the rate of your ignite buildup. And last but not least, we have increased agility scaling. Now moving into our offhand, we're going to be holding a +6 Kukujin short sword. Sitting at 233 attack power, I gotta get this bumped up a little bit, I know, but has a B- in agility scaling and bringing an additional 60 in bleed and poison buildup. The runes that we attach to this weapon is increased agility scaling, once again, and the all-important Alstrix rune, increasing damage of ranged and throwable weapons. What's really nice is by having these weapons on the back burner, you're gonna have the opportunity to proc either poison, fire, or bleed on the target, giving you a nice damage over time component that will consistently do damage while you try to retreat and continue to use your long range weapons. And by the way, if you're enjoying this video so far, feel free to hit that like button for me as it means a lot and it helps this video spread to more people, and consider subscribing for more of this type of stuff coming your way. I also stream every Tuesday and Thursday here on YouTube, so come through and chill. It'd be awesome to see you guys there. Thanks so much, guys. And this brings us straight to the bow of choice, which I chose to run the +5 Assassin's bow. This is giving us a 143 physical damage, and while it doesn't have the best increased damage for special arrows, the base damage for its regular day-to-day precision or weighted arrows is extremely high. This bow is going to allow us to dish out massive damage at a very low ammunition cost. So my thought process was, let me focus on the base arrows, and this will let us fire off more bolts as we move throughout the landscape. Now, if you favor a specific type of arrow like fire or poison, I would look into something more like the Shaman bow or the bow of the Covert, as these bows are going to deal more damage with specific special type of arrows. I just found myself sticking with the basic arrows throughout the game, so the Assassin bow worked very well for me, and I was still able to 1 or 2 shot majority of the enemies we're going to be coming across. And hey, if it's a chunky boy coming our way, then I'll swap to the poison or fire arrows and it'll handle the job real quick. Try to find out what your enemies are more vulnerable to. In specific type of areas, you'll find enemies are more vulnerable to fire, where in the beginning of the game they're resistant to fire, so you can use poison, and vice versa. Pay attention to what enemies are vulnerable to what, and that'll help you out in this archer build even further. So moving into the armor, I say it every video, fashion is most important to me, so pick whatever tickles your fancy. But keeping us in that lightweight category, the headpiece I chose to go with is the Overseer mask. This is actually providing us with very high overall damage mitigation from all sources. The chest piece that we're going with is the Condemned Garb, very low physical mitigation, but extremely high in holy, fire, and wither categories. And this is perfect since we really don't want to be dealing with a lot of hand-to-hand combat. For the gloves, we're going with the Despaired Grasps, and for the leggings that we're going to be rocking is the Discreer Guide leggings. This set altogether is going to give us a high resistance to all the elements in the game and keeping us at a very low encumbrance range, which, as I said at the top, was the goal for me, and it looks pretty damn good as well for a ranger if I don't say so myself. Now let's talk about some rings and our amulet. For the amulet I ended up going with was the Shrunken Skull Pendant. This is making it so that any fully charged range attacks are going to be dealing additional damage, and with this bow build, you're certainly going to want to charge majority of your shots to make sure you're getting the best bang per use of your ammunition. Now for another option, you can always go with the Princess's Sting, as this is going to increase your damage the lower your equip load. But if you choose to do so, I recommend taking off your gloves and maybe something else to really get that weight as low as possible to get the full benefit from that amulet. As for the rings, I ended up sticking with the Ring of Duty for the majority of the playthrough, as it increases both health and endurance, which, as I said at the top, will fuel the increase of our ammo capacity. And the more the merrier, I say to that. The other ring on the menu is the Black Feather Ranger ring. This is going to be increasing the damage with bows by 20%. So of course, that one just fits like a glove. Moving right into the stats, we have 9 in strength, 70 in agility, 36 in endurance, 50 in health, 8 in radiance, and 15 in inferno. The reason behind this is strength, we don't need. Agility, you could bump that through the roof as long as you feel comfortable with your ammo capacity. 36 in endurance, I would definitely bump that up a bit more just to add some more ammo count to the build, but if you're sitting around 40 in endurance, it's pretty much perfect. 50 in health is always a safe bet since we're not wearing a lot of armor. This allows us to take a few hits before we're going to have to consume a heal. Radiance we don't need. And the 15 in inferno, well, I was trying to make something happen with like a fire archer build, but nothing really came through. So don't put any of those points in there and allocate these into where you see fit, but I would recommend the endurance and health category. So I hope this helps you get right into a fun archer build to take on Lords of the Fallen with. If you're looking for more options, check out these other build videos coming up next for other powerful and thematic build variety. As always guys, hit that like button, subscribe if you feel like it, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy everyone.